Anubis is like a watchful guardian at the doorway to the afterlife, a figure well known from ancient tales. He is a god from old Egyptian beliefs, wrapped in the secrets of what comes after death, his story part of their religion and the way they cared for those who passed away. This god, Anubis, has the head of a dog and is closely connected to funeral rituals and the soul's journey after death. Egyptians thought life on earth was short, and the real life was in the Ka, your life force, and the Ba, your unique traits. As a guardian, Anubis protected people's souls as they moved from living to the world of the dead. Anubis, first called Inpu, was linked to decay and naturally became the one to watch over mummification, helping preserve the body. Mummifying was important for the Ka and Ba to live on, and it was a special ceremony full of meaning. Anubis's priests who prepared the bodies were seen as his helpers on earth, their work reflecting his sacred role. The jackal, often seen around graveyards in the desert, was linked to Anubis because it seemed to protect the dead. But Egyptians were also worried it might steal from the graves, which is why they made such secure tombs and included items for the afterlife. Anubis's image has changed over time, from a jackal to a wolf-like animal, as experts continue to learn about ancient Egypt's creatures. His black color stood out against the desert and had many meanings, like the fertile land by the Nile and the unknowns of death. The oldest Egyptian writings, like the pyramid texts, show how important Anubis was. He was once the main god of the underworld before Osiris became more famous. When the pyramids were being built, Anubis was especially worshipped, a comforting figure for those who had died. In the story where Osiris is cut apart and put back together, Anubis's job as an embalmer was clear. He not only cared for the dead, but also helped Osiris come back to life, showing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Anubis was crucial in the weighing of the heart ritual, which showed the Egyptians ideas of balance and fairness. They believed the heart held thoughts and memories, and Anubis would oversee its weighing to see if a person had led a good life. Next to Anubis was Ammit, a scary creature that ate the hearts of those who did wrong, showing how important it was to live truthfully and justly. Anubis made sure the weighing was fair, but he did not judge. He ensured that the outcome was true. Anubis's family story is full of divine drama and trickery. His mother, Nephthys, wasn't able to have children with her husband Set. She disguised herself to be with Osiris, hoping for a child. Anubis was born from this secret union, and even though his beginnings were based on deceit, he grew up to stand for truth and honesty. Over time, stories about Anubis's real dad came up, with some saying it might be Set. This twist made things more complicated, especially considering Set's troubled relationship with Osiris. Anubis had to navigate these tricky family waters, which made his place among the gods even more interesting. Anubis didn't just matter to people's religious beliefs. He was a big part of Egyptian culture. People looked up to him, and even though they sometimes were scared by what he represented, the mysteries of death, he was always respected. Even as other gods like Osiris became more popular, Anubis's role in how Egyptians dealt with death stayed central for a very long time. Anubis didn't stay in the past. He's become a symbol of our curiosity about death and what comes after. Today he pops up in stories, movies, and artwork, showing how strong and lasting ancient Egyptian culture is, and how it continues to capture our imagination. The art of mummification, which Anubis is said to have started with Osiris, had two big goals. It was a way to keep the body looking like it was still alive for the world of the dead, and it was also a spiritual act. It repeated the god's sacred embalming, which made sure the dead were ready for their next adventure. The priests treated every step, from taking out organs and putting them in special jars, to drying and wrapping the body in linen, with a lot of care, because each part had a hidden magical meaning. Not only kings and queens got mummified, over time many Egyptians who could afford it did it too. This change showed that everyone hoped for a future after death. They used guides like the Book of the Dead and the Book of Gates, which were like maps for the soul in the underworld, full of spells and tips. As Egyptian beliefs changed, so did Anubis's job. When Osiris became the top god of the underworld, Anubis got busy with funeral customs and preserving bodies. People thought he was the best at mummification, almost like he did it with his own hands. This made his priests, who did the mummifying, very honored, as they were seen as Anubis walking on earth. Anubis was also part of the opening of the mouth ceremony. This ritual was done to give back the dead person's senses so they could see, hear, and breathe in the afterlife. A priest wearing an Anubis mask did this ceremony, and it was like they were giving the mummy a second chance at life. The symbols linked to Anubis tell a deep story. Priests wore leopard skins, which were not just for protection, they also stood for big changes. Like a leopard's spots, they symbolized a person's change from living to being part of the forever world after death. The color black had a double meaning too. It stood for the rich black soil by the Nile River, and it also meant rebirth and the sure hope of life after dying. This is one reason why Anubis was often shown with black or dark-colored fur. Everywhere in ancient Egyptian burial places, you would find Anubis's image. His statues stood watch by graves, and paintings of him were in the Book of the Dead. These images made it clear that he was the one who showed the way and kept the dead safe. He was often seen in art doing the weighing of the heart. Egyptians believed that after death you would face truth and justice, and Anubis was in charge of that. Anubis is one of the oldest gods, and his job changed over time. He did a lot, from helping the dead on their journey, taking care of mummies, to being the boss of cemeteries and graveyards. He had a big role in what Egyptians thought and felt about death. Even now, we think of Anubis as the serious keeper of the dead. He's wrapped in the secrets of what comes after life ends. This image keeps the story of one of Egypt's most interesting gods alive, a god whose story and history still grab the attention of people who study the past and everyone else who's curious about it. As we keep digging up new finds and learning more about the ancient Egyptians, our understanding of Anubis grows. We're getting better at seeing how ancient people saw death, the gods, and life that lasts forever. This helps us get a clearer picture of Anubis's place in history and how he influenced one of the world's most fascinating cultures. This god was not just a figure from old stories. His role was real in how the Egyptians lived and thought about life's end. In their world, he was like a guide who made sure you could find your way in the unknown land of death. He was trusted to take care of the body, keeping it safe for the journey ahead. This was a big deal because Egyptians believed that the body had to be kept safe for the soul to live on. Anubis's symbols weren't random. They meant something special. The leopard's skin wasn't just for show, it was full of meaning. It showed that something big was happening, just like when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. In the same way, a person was believed to change from someone who could die to someone who would live forever. The color black was chosen for a reason. It stood for the black soil that made crops grow along the Nile, the kind of soil that brought life. And just like the soil, black was a sign of new beginnings and the sure hope that there was something good waiting after death. From guiding souls to overseeing the sacred mummification process, his legacy is a tapestry of intrigue and reverence. Unravel the mysteries of his divine role and familial complexities with each episode. Have these ancient stories captivated you? If so, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining our journey through time for more mystic revelations.